What's wrong with you two? I came home from work to find my husband and daughter lying in the living room. What's wrong? I ran up to them and asked them how they were doing. They were having a seizure and seemed to be breathing somehow. I immediately called the paramedics and was transported. What happened to them? I don't know. When I came home from work, we both collapsed. After that, the doctor asked me many questions in the ambulance, but I could only tell them what I saw. I myself had no idea why things were the way they were. As soon as we arrived at the hospital, the procedure for both of them began. And when the treatment was over, the doctor called me to another room. Are they all right? They are fine, especially your daughter. If it had been a little later, she would have been in danger. So what happened to them? They are. When I hear this, my body loses my strength. From there, I was caught up in a situation I never expected. My name is Wendy. I have been married for 5 years and live with my husband Harley and my daughter Bonnie. I am happy enough now. I met Harley when I was working as a post office clerk. Harley came to the post office every week. According to what I heard, he enjoyed making small items and selling them on a flea market app, so he came to the post office to send them out. Since I was in charge of the postal counter, at first the conversation was only clerical, but gradually we began to make small talk. It was at this point that I learned his name. Please send this, thank you. Yes, sir. Have you been working here long? Yes, I've working here since I graduated from high school, so it's been about 6 years now. Really? At first, the conversation was like that. He came to the post office as usual, but the atmosphere was somehow different. When I finished the procedure as usual, I was handed a small piece of paper. What? This is... Then Harley left the place, looking embarrassed. After the work was finished, I checked the piece of paper that was handed to me. On it was written Harley's phone number. I had heard my friend's story before, but I was surprised that this really happened. What should I do? I wasn't sure whether to call him or not, but I decided to give him a call anyway if we were going to see each other again. Hello? Yes. Oh, could it be MS, Wendy? Yes, sir. I never thought I'd actually hear from you. What? You gave your phone number to me, right? I couldn't help but laugh. I had been nervous before I made the call, but before I knew it, that too had blown away. In the end, after talking for about an hour, Harley asked me out on a date. How about next week, then? Well, yes, that day will be fine. I'm glad to hear that. See you then. Thus, we repeated our dates. As we went on more and more dates, we grew closer, and it didn't take long for our relationship to develop into a relationship. It was more of a natural process, rather than a confession of love. Later, when I was 26 and he was 28, he proposed. The reply was, of course, Oak, I thought a happy married life would soon await us, but reality was not that simple. I'm glad you parents were so nice. I'm not so sure about that. I'm used to it, so I don't know. I'm more worried about whether your parents will allow us to get married. I don't think that will be a problem. I don't brag about it, but I think they are kind. Well, that's fine then. We arrived at my parents' house and immediately greeted them. You're finally getting married. Congratulations. It was Harley, wasn't it? Please take care of my daughter from now on. Yes, I will surely make her happy. Hearing those words, I was unexpectedly struck. Then the living room door opens and a certain someone enters. Oh, you're back. What? Wendy, did you not tell Mr. Harley? I'm sorry, maybe I didn't. Oh, come on. What's going on? It was my sister, Meryl, who came to me. I'm sorry, I should have explained everything to you. I explained to Harley about my sister. Oh my God, that's it. So that's what this is about. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too. I never imagined that this encounter would turn out to be the worst thing that could have happened to me. Afterwards, my sister and I would talk about it. My sister and I were not that close, to be honest. To be precise, it was when I left this house. At the time, my mother was very ill and needed a lot of money for treatment. I don't mind, I'm your sister. What are you talking about? You're going to sacrifice yourself for it. You're smarter than I am, and this is all I have. I chose to use the money which my parents had saved for my higher education for my mother. I have no regrets about that in itself. However, Meryl did not like that. This was the fork in the road of destiny for us, as we had followed similar paths up to this point. From that point on, we hardly ever spoke to each other, and we never kept in touch. Even when we went home occasionally, we were careful to avoid seeing each other as much as possible. That hasn't changed, but she was happy about my marriage. I thought this would melt the rut. That's nice. I wish I could marry someone like Harley. No, I'm sure you'll find someone good, Meryl. Actually, I think he may have already appeared. What? Meryl was smiling thinly, as if she had something good in mind. Her face even stayed in my head for a while. Thus began our married life. Our daughter was born, and we were at the height of our happiness. A few years passed. Not only did Harley come home strangely late, but he also started going out more and more often, even on holidays. Then, a terrible incident occurs. What's wrong with you two? I came home from work to find my husband and daughter lying in the living room. What's wrong? I ran up to them and asked them how they were doing. They were having a seizure and seemed to be breathing somehow. I have to call the ambulance. The ambulance arrived immediately and they were carried out. What happened to them? I don't know. When I came home from work, they both collapsed. After that, I was asked many questions in the ambulance, but I could only tell them what I had seen. I didn't know why it was happening to me myself. As soon as we arrived at the hospital, the treatment of the two of us began. And when the treatment was over, the doctor called me to another room. Are they all right? They are fine, especially your daughter. If it had been a little later, she would have been in danger. So what happened to them? They are suffering from acute nicotine pesticide poisoning. When I heard that they were safe, I lost my strength. But then I found myself caught up in a situation I had not expected. Are you A? I'm sorry, I was a little surprised. So what is acute nicotine pesticide poisoning? It's an ingredient found in pesticides, and it's a poisoning caused by ingesting it. Symptoms include dizziness, convulsions, difficulty breathing. Oh no. The doctors asked me many questions, including what we had been eating. But I really don't know anything. I can't even examine what the two of them had been doing before I came back. For the time being, they were admitted to the hospital for further examination. The next day, things took a turn for the worse. The police came to their house. What are you doing here? This case is unlikely to be a simple accident, and we will be investigating it as a case. So, could you please tell us in detail how you found the body? I looked into the eyes of the police officer who asked me this, and I immediately understood. These people are suspicious of me. However, I really don't remember anything about myself. To clear my suspicions, I cooperated with the interview and the investigation. Then one officer found pesticides at the bottom of a trash can. What is this? I don't know. I don't even remember buying it in the first place. I see. Anyway, could you please accompany me to the station? I decided to go with him, thinking that running away would only make a bad impression on him. At the police station, fingerprints were taken and matched with the pesticide found. I was ordered to stay at the precinct until the results are in. I was worried about them, but for the time being, I had no choice but to prove my innocence. I told myself to be patient until the results came back. The fingerprints that were taken matched yours. You are suspected of attempted murder. My mind went blank. I don't understand why my fingerprints were on the pesticide, but why should I take 2 lives? I found myself sitting in an interrogation room chair. Now then, tell me what you did that day. Thus began the long, long interrogation. That day, I got up as usual and went to work at the post office. You stayed at the post office the whole time. No, I went to a nearby cafe for lunch. Maybe for an hour or so. After that, I went back. I see. He thought there was nothing suspicious about that day, but now he asks me about the day before. What? The day before? That afternoon, I went to a nearby supermarket and bought a cake. Did you stop anywhere else? No, I went home after that. The police then showed me the laptop. I have something I'd like you to take a look at. What he showed me was a video clip from a surveillance camera at some store. It was recorded by a surveillance camera at a home improvement store. Is that not you in the video? One woman was shown in front of a shelf lined with pesticides. What is this? Why, it's me. Then I realized something. This is not me. What? The policemen in the interrogation room looked at each other. You should not say you can't be so sure. There is a good reason for it. First of all, please look here. The woman pointed to a part of the image that could be seen from the front. Then I asked them to zoom in on the image. What is this? So, here it is. The woman in the video had a mole around her mouth, but I don't have a mole. This is not enough. This is my twin sister, Meryl. What? Even the police were surprised at this. They had lived together for 18 years. There was no way they could have mistaken the faces of family members. But we also checked the footage of you in the supermarket, and you are wearing the same clothes. The police were right. Meryl's attire in this video is the same attire I was wearing that day. However, no one but my family would know if I left the house dressed like that. At this moment, everything connected. I see that's what it meant. Speaking of which, what has happened to my husband since? I think he's out of the hospital now and back at home. If so, please check on my husband right away. I'm sure he's been seeing my sister. How can you be so sure? I took a breath and said, that's because those two are having an affair. Affair. I think they're trying to frame me. But your husband is a victim too, isn't he? That way, he won't be suspected. The police start to get nervous. I'm not asking you to let me out of here. I'll answer your all questionings. In return, please check on both of them. That should tell us everything we need to know. I understand, but I'll have to discuss it with my superiors. And if this is false, I understand that. I was then detained. Normally, I would have been arrested at this point, but they decided that my testimony could not be ignored and put my arrest on hold for the time being. I felt like I was really connected by the skin of my neck. 2 days later, I was called back to the interrogation room. As you said, I looked into your husband and found that he was having an affair. Besides, we spoke to your husband, and he confessed to everything. Then, I'm sorry about this. It was our fault. For the time being, I was exonerated, but the fight was not over yet. It was revenge against Harley and Meryl. There was no way I could forgive them for involving my young daughter. And then I had to have a meeting with Harley. You really did a terrible thing. I can't believe you dragged Bonnie into this to set me up. Meryl had to be the instigator of this. I would never forgive you such a thing. As it turns out, it was Meryl's suggestion to prepare pesticides and frame me as a murderer. Harley took a picture of my outfit and sent it to Meryl, who imitated him and bought the pesticide. He laced the cake with the pesticide when I was away for work, just as I had come to visit him. I think he was trying to make me the culprit so that she could be with Harley. So where is Meryl? I don't know about that. Before the police took me, I couldn't reach her. That means she ran away. Anyway, you will pay for your crime. You're going to be a criminal. Oh, no way. I was back home when I received a call from the police. As expected, Meryl had disappeared. The police also visited my parents' house, and my mother seemed to have fainted from surprise. Meryl was found a week later. Apparently, she had spent some time hiding out at the home of a man she had met through a dating service. She was taken to the police station where she told them everything. I rushed to the police station. Meryl. They were just about to take her to jail. I knew you were coming. Why did you do this to me? Because I haven't liked you since you left. Then she told me everything she had been thinking about me. It seems that Meryl felt that I, who was better than her, had been merciful to her by giving up my higher education. Furthermore, the kinder I was to her, the more negative feelings she developed. As a result, it filled her up and caused incidents like this one. Was that why you approached Harley? I just thought that if I slept with your husband, you would despair. When he came to greet me at the wedding, I knew I could afford this guy. In other words, she did not choose Harley because he was Harley. She chose him because he was my husband. He said he was going to be with you when I was gone. That stupid man had a crush on me. I just made it easy for me to take advantage of him. I can't forgive Harley, but still, he was just being used by her for good. I feel really pathetic. Why did you target Bonnie? Of course it's because she's your daughter. I held back my anger. Well, whatever the reason, what you did is unforgivable. You will pay for the rest of your life. I don't want you to be the only one to say that. She was taken away with these words. Then the trial of Harley and Meryl began. My husband was accused of framing me as a suspect for attempted murder, false charge material, attempted murder, and many other charges. In the end, he was sentenced to prison from the payment of alimony. Meryl, on the other hand, was also tried for this execution. Nevertheless, the two will soon serve their sentences and come out. However, even if they atone for their crimes, it does not mean that they can pretend that they did not commit them. They will continue to live as ex-convicts. And my parents, moving in today, right? Oh, how about Wendy and Bonnie come live with us? What? I think your mom would be happy if you did. I was hesitant to move in with my mother, but I accepted her proposal for my mother's sake, who was exhausted. She has recovered well and is now running around full of energy. Bonnie's cheerful appearance has brought a smile to my mother's face. From now on, the four of us will live together in a new house. We will be happy with Bonnie,